Welcome to Future_Music Deep Dive.
We are so glad you are joining us today.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in because right now, the most powerful voice in the highly manufactured, strictly algorithmic Korean music industry belongs to a 21-year-old Filipina singer.
It really does.
And, I mean, she is completely breaking the math. We are looking at a chart landscape today that defies literally every traditional metric we use to predict cross-border success.
Every single one.
Right. I mean, for you listening, the standard playbook says you need a massive agency, maybe 7 years of trainee development, a highly calculated concept, and a fully mobilized fan army to even make a dent on the global charts.
But that playbook is basically gathering dust right now.
Yeah.
Because, Gwyn Dorado didn't use any of that machinery.
None of it.
She is currently anchoring the most critical emotional beats of the summer's absolute biggest television phenomenon, My Royal Nemesis.
Such a massive shift.
It is, and she's doing it with her mesmerizing new single, Losing My Heart, which is, it's part 3 of the soundtrack for this giant SBS and Netflix fantasy romance juggernaut.
Yeah.
And this track is just executing a complete hostile takeover of the aggregator charts.
It's a total takeover. I mean, we are seeing data points that frankly shouldn't exist.
Right.
A Korean language ballad sung by a foreign artist charting in Western European and South American markets with zero traditional radio push.
Zero.
The numbers we are pulling today, and we are tracking this right up to today, June 20th, 2026, they suggest a fundamental shift in how global audiences consume and, more importantly, purchase music.
But, the music doesn't exist in a vacuum, though.
No, of course not.
To understand the metrics you're looking at, you really have to understand the vehicle. I mean, My Royal Nemesis is not just a standard weekend drama.
Not at all.
It is a total high-wire act of tone and genre. For those of you who haven't caught up, without giving away any major spoilers, you basically have this historical Joseon-era villainess.
A truly scheming royal concubine.
Exactly, a real piece of work. And her soul mysteriously wakes up in modern-day Seoul.
Right.
She finds herself occupying the body of an actress named Shin Seori, who is played just brilliantly by Lim Ji-yeon.
She brings that intense, almost feral survival instinct from the Joseon court right into a modern corporate landscape.
Yes, it's so good. And as this ancient soul is, trying to navigate smartphones and modern social hierarchies, she gets entangled in an incredibly toxic but entirely magnetic romance.
I felt so magnetic.
Right, with a ruthless third-generation cable heir, Cha Se-gi, played by Heo Nam-jun.
He's terrifying, but you can't look away.
Exactly, and the collision of this cold, money-grubbing capitalist and a displaced villainous soul creates an atmosphere where the stakes are inherently life and death.
Yeah.
The romance is dangerous. The corporate espionage is cutthroat. The show swings from this dark, fish-out-of-water comedy to just devastating tragedy in the span of a single act.
Which honestly is what makes the musical architecture of the series so critical.
Oh, 100%.
When a narrative is that volatile, the soundtrack has to do the heavy lifting of keeping the audience grounded in the emotional reality of the characters.
It has to be the anchor.
And that is exactly what Losing My Heart does. It is a sweeping, poignant ballad sung entirely in Korean.
Beautifully sung.
But the fact that Gwyn Dorado is the vocalist chosen to execute this pivotal piece of media is what makes this a true industry anomaly. I mean, she bypassed the traditional idol route entirely.
She didn't just bypass it, though. I think she actively proved it wasn't necessary.
Oh.
Yeah, if the vocal credibility is absolute, and her credibility was forged in the absolute fires of Sing Again 4.
Such a brutal show.
It is, because, for an artist to step into a flagship SBS drama soundtrack, the domestic Korean audience has to trust their voice.
Right.
Sing Again provides that trust. It strips away the visual popularity contest, the viral TikTok dances, and forces artists into a really brutal, vocal-heavy gauntlet.
It's the ultimate proving ground. The industry watches that show specifically to find artists who can carry live vocals without pitch correction.
That's exactly.
Artists who understand breath control, emotional pacing, and Gwyn's run on that show, which culminated in her runner-up finish in January 2026, was historic.
Truly historic.
We are talking about a fiercely competitive domestic broadcast where she stood alone in the finale as the sole foreigner against top-tier Korean vocalists like Leo Wook, Kim Jae-min, and Slowly.
The tension in that finale was palpable. I mean, when she delivered her moving rendition of Light Up, the final scoring laid bare just how tightly contested the vocal crown actually was.
Yeah, let me pull up the exact numbers here. She secured a final score of 3,009.39 points.
Right, and the winner, Lee Oh-wook, took the crown with 3,051.06 points.
You are looking at a margin of roughly 41 points out of a total pool of over 3,000.
It's a statistical photo finish.
It really is. The judges were essentially splitting hairs over stylistic preferences at that point because technically both vocalists were operating at the absolute ceiling of the medium.
They really were.
Yeah.
But, I actually think the defining data point from her time on Sing Again 4 wasn't the finale.
Yeah.
No, it was her performance earlier in the season, when she delivered that rendition of I Want You.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
The judges awarded her a staggering 798 out of 800 possible points.
Which is the highest mark in the show's entire history for that season.
Exactly. To receive a 798 from a Korean judging panel, a panel historically known for its exacting, almost microscopic critique of pronunciation and tonal delivery.
Yeah, they do not hold back.
They don't.
Yeah.
So doing that while being a foreign contestant singing in Korean, it's unprecedented. It sent a massive shockwave through the A&R departments across Seoul.
It proved her vocal delivery was just bulletproof across cultural lines.
Bulletproof.
Hey.
But, that level of delivery isn't generated overnight in a rehearsal room. You have to look at the timeline of her stage experience.
Right, she's not a rookie.
Not at all. At just 10 years old, back in 2015, she was already standing on a massive regional stage as a finalist on Asia's Got Talent in Singapore.
That's wild. 10 years old?
So she has been managing high-stakes, live broadcast pressure for a decade. The Korean industry moves incredibly fast when they identify that kind of seasoned, undeniable talent.
And the business infrastructure caught up to the talent in February 2024. That's when she signed a pivotal 5-year contract with AO Entertainment in South Korea.
That was the turning point.
It was the bridge. It signaled her formal integration into the domestic industry, and it immediately resulted in portfolio building work.
Right. She provided the track What If for the drama Together.
Yep, and dropped her solo digital single way. She put in the reps. She learned the specific pacing and production style required for Korean media. But, and here's where I want to push back a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
I'm not sure that entirely explains the current phenomenon we're seeing on the charts today.
What do you mean?
Well, we see talent show winners fade away constantly. We see reality television runners-up secure agency contracts all the time. The landscape is literally littered with vocalists who had one viral reality television moment, signed a 5-year deal, sang one mid-tier drama track, and then just vanished.
Yeah, that is very true.
So what is it about Gwyn's specific vocal aesthetic that allowed her to bypass the traditional idol route and immediately secure a prime spot on a flagship Netflix drama soundtrack? There has to be something the traditional K-pop machine cannot replicate.
You are hitting on the exact mechanic of her success right there.
Yeah.
The answer lies in this visceral, uniquely Filipino concept of emotional expression called Hugot, or Hugot.
Hugot, okay.
Yes. When you look at the creative team behind Losing My Heart, you are looking at heavy hitters. The legendary composer Park Sung-il, lyricist Seo Dong-sung, and arranger Uncle Sam.
Right, massive names.
And Park Sung-il, he creates these pristine, mathematically perfect Korean ballads. They're structurally flawless. But what Gwyn brings to that architecture is the Hugot.
No, the translation of Hugot usually centers around, like, pulling or drawing out, right?
Exactly. In a cultural and musical context, it refers to drawing out profound, almost agonizing emotional pain and longing from deep within yourself and projecting it directly into the vocal delivery.
Wow.
It is a pulling of the heartstrings that is just completely raw. It's not just about hitting the correct notes on a sad song. It's a full-body emotional bleed.
A full-body emotional bleed. That's a great way to put it.
You can hear it in the slight, intentional vocal breaks. The specific way she modulates her breath at the end of a phrase. It literally sounds like heartbreak.
So she is basically taking the restrained, beautiful, melancholy typical of a Korean drama ballad and injecting it with this raw, unfiltered Filipino emotional weight.
Yes, that synthesis of those two cultural approaches to music is what makes the track so arresting. And you don't have to understand the specific Korean vocabulary she is singing to feel the physical weight of the Hugot in her voice.
Right. It completely transcends the language barrier.
Completely.
Yeah.
The netizen reactions confirm this cross-cultural emotional transference perfectly. If you scrub through the comments on the official music video for the soundtrack, the linguistic barrier is practically non-existent.
What are they saying?
Users are explicitly documenting their physiological reactions. One commenter noted, quote, "I'm getting emotional even though I don't understand the lyrics."
Wow.
Another stated, "If she sings this live, I think I will cry." Actually, I will really cry. It's such a beautiful voice.
Your voice hits a spot in my heart. I saw that sentiment repeated endlessly across different languages in the comment section. It is just the language of pure emotion, completely overriding the need for literal comprehension.
Which is precisely why this song was the only choice for My Royal Nemesis. The track was strategically dropped on May 23.
Right, but perfectly timed.
Immaculately timed. It hit right at the emotional climax of the drama's highly anticipated 6th episode. The song is not just background ambiance. It functions as the audible subtext of Shinseori and Chosegi's dynamic.
So let's look at the lyrics Seo Dong-seung wrote for a second. They center on destiny, on an unexplainable disruptive emotion cracking open a solid, rigid world. They explore the absolute inability to simply walk past a broken person.
Which is the exact psychological blueprint of the lead characters.
It really is.
Chosegi is this rigid, money-driven cable. His world is solid, transactional, and entirely unfeeling.
Very cold.
And Shinseori, burdened with the displaced soul of a Joseon concubine, is this chaotic, deeply broken variable that completely shatters his reality.
And the drama requires that intense emotional grounding because the plot, it does not pull its punches.
Oh, it really doesn't. Reviewers have highlighted the tonal shift around episode 13.
Yeah, you have the tragic, devastating loss of Seirdox's grandmother.
Right, and the dark comedy completely evaporates in that moment, leaving nothing but pure, unadulterated grief.
And simultaneously, you have the evil cable Father Mundu triggering a massive corporate bribery dispute that threatens to decimate the lives of everyone involved.
The stakes escalate to life and death so quickly.
So it makes me think, is Losing My Heart acting as a sonic anchor here? The drama swings wildly between dark comedy, corporate bribery disputes, and near-death tragedy. Does Gwyn's grounded, deeply emotional vocal performance give the audience a safe harbor amidst the plot's chaos?
That's exactly what it does. In those moments of narrative chaos, when the corporate espionage becomes just too convoluted or the villains push the boundaries of cruelty, Gwyn's Hugot vocal performance cuts through the noise.
It grounds it.
Yes. It reminds the audience that beneath the fantasy elements and the bribery scandals, these are two deeply fractured humans desperately drawn to each other's pain. It gives the audience a safe harbor, like you said.
But that sonic anchor isn't just making audiences cry in front of their televisions. It is driving an immediate, quantifiable consumer reflex that is rewriting the global aggregator charts.
Yes, let's get into the numbers.
Let's dive into the global iTunes tracking data. Because the transition from the emotional artistry we've been talking about to hard streaming economics is what you need to understand here. Tracking the data right up to today, June 20, 2026, paints a picture of a truly borderless commercial phenomenon.
Now, we inherently expect a flagship SBS drama soundtrack to perform well in the domestic market and across Asia.
Sure, the genre has deep roots there.
Right.
And the Asian dominance of this track was absolute. Throughout late May and into June, the regional market penetration was staggering. Looking at the global iTunes aggregator trends, we are seeing Vietnam skyrocket to number 20.
Incredible.
Malaysia hit number 21. Singapore demonstrated a steady, relentless climb, peaking at number 34.
And Hong Kong maintained an incredibly resilient presence, peaking at number 53.
Taiwan charted strongly at number 80, and Indonesia made massive waves, peaking at number 73.
Right, and like we said, the performance in the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia aligns with traditional data models. These are massive, dedicated K-drama consumption markets.
Plus, the regional pride associated with a Filipino artist dominating a Korean production undoubtedly amplifies that engagement in Southeast Asia.
Oh, for sure.
But, and this is the crazy part, the traditional data models completely fall apart when we look at the Western iTunes markets. This is where the cross-border phenomenon just defies logic.
A Korean ballad, anchored by a Filipino vocalist, making significant inroads in markets entirely outside the K-pop sphere of influence.
Let me read you these entry points because it's wild. Losing My Heart charted in Colombia at number 81.
Wow.
It hit Saudi Arabia at number 83. It breached Switzerland at number 111.
Switzerland.
Ireland at 155. And France at 169.
Finding a Korean soundtrack organically charting in the top 200 in France and Switzerland without a localized radio campaign, or a massive idol fan base coordinating IP-masked streaming events.
It's an absolute anomaly.
It is.
So we have to analyze the architecture of the platform to understand how this happens. Why is a listener in Dublin or Bogota actively purchasing this specific track today?
Right. What's driving it?
It comes down to the Netflix synchronous release infrastructure. My Royal Nemesis is a global Netflix release.
Ah, the Netflix effect.
Exactly. When a viewer in Paris watches episode 13, experiencing that devastating sequence where Siori loses her grandmother,
Which is heartbreaking.
right, and Gwyn's Hugot vocal swells precisely at the point of maximum emotional trauma.
The viewer experiences this acute emotional spike.
And in 2026, the technological distance between experiencing that spike and completing a commercial transaction is practically zero.
It's immediate.
The viewer pulls out their phone, utilizes an audio identification application to capture the track playing through their television speakers, and the application instantly provides a frictionless link to the iTunes storefront.
They purchase the track impulsively.
Driven entirely by the emotional high of the scene. And this data proves that the drama soundtrack remains one of the most potent, borderless marketing vehicles in the entire global music industry.
It bypasses terrestrial radio completely.
Bypasses local PR firms. The 16-hour drama itself functions as a globally distributed, highly targeted music video.
Okay, that data interpretation is fascinating. But I want to push back on this a little bit.
Go for it.
It raises a significant question about the nature of the consumer.
How so?
Are these listeners in France and Colombia buying this track because they are genuinely becoming Gwyn Dorado fans? Like, will they eagerly anticipate and purchase her next independent digital single? Or is this the audio souvenir effect?
Ah, the audio souvenir.
Are they just buying the song to relive an intoxicating, toxic romance of Shinseori and Chasege with no real attachment to the artist herself? And ultimately, does the industry even care about the difference?
That is a fantastic question. I mean, the audio souvenir effect is a massive factor in OST sales, without a doubt. A significant percentage of those European and South American buyers are purchasing the emotion of the scene.
Right, the memory of the show.
Exactly. Not necessarily investing in Gwyn's long-term discography. But for the Korean music industry infrastructure, the distinction is entirely irrelevant in the short term.
Really? Relevant.
Completely. Because those raw iTunes sales data points, regardless of consumer intent, feed directly into the algorithms and mathematical formulas that determine major award viability.
Oh, wow.
And that projects us directly into the late 2026 award season horizon. We need to talk about nominations.
Let's do it. When you synthesize Gwyn's massive emotional resonance with this undeniable multi-continent iTunes footprint, she immediately enters the conversation for industry hardware.
Oh, she's a front runner. Let's map out the realistic targets. The Mnet Asian Music Awards, the MAMA Awards place a heavily weighted emphasis on global reach and international charting.
Which she has in spades.
Exactly. Losing My Heart is a phenomenally strong contender for Best OST based strictly on that criteria.
And what about the Melon Music Awards, the MMA?
So the MMA operates slightly differently. They are deeply tied to domestic streaming numbers on the Melon platform. However, given the massive domestic broadcast ratings of My Royal Nemesis on SBS, she is a virtual lock for a Best OST nomination there as well.
That's huge.
But, and this is where it gets really interesting, if this momentum sustains itself and the narrative around her vocal prowess continues to build, we could realistically be looking at a potential nomination for Best Female Vocal Performance.
Breaking out of the soundtrack-specific categories and competing in the mainstream vocal categories?
Yes.
That would be a monumental achievement. But it's entirely possible, given the vocal acrobatics required to execute the track and the overwhelmingly positive public reception.
For sure. Furthermore, the Domestic Drama Awards, specifically the Soul Music Awards and the SBS Drama Awards, are almost guaranteed to recognize the soundtrack, given its symbiotic relationship with the network's biggest hit.
So she's going up against the big agencies.
And this is where Gwyn's unique trajectory gives her what I call the dark horse advantage.
The dark horse advantage, I like that.
To understand why she is such a formidable threat to established artists, we have to unpack the specific mechanics of Korean award shows. These awards are rarely decided by a small jury of music critics sitting in a boardroom.
Right, it's a math game.
It is a complex mathematical equation heavily weighted by global voting ratios and digital streaming ratios.
And the traditional model heavily favors the massive, established K-pop idol groups.
Right, because they possess highly organized fan armies.
Armies capable of mobilizing streaming campaigns 24 hours a day and coordinating global voting drives across multiple platforms and time zones.
It is historically incredibly difficult for a solo vocalist, let alone a foreign solo vocalist, without a massive agency machine behind them, to generate the sheer volume of data required to compete with that infrastructure.
But Gwyn's explosive iTunes performance fundamentally neutralizes that advantage.
Exactly. Her streaming base is not hyper-localized. It is wildly dispersed across the globe. She benefits from the passionate Filipino demographic.
A community legendary within the industry for its highly mobilized digital engagement and formidable voting power.
Oh, absolutely. And you combine that core demographic with the vast, globally dispersed footprint of the Netflix audience. The casual viewers in Saudi Arabia, Ireland, and Colombia who purchased the track as an audio souvenir. They are now part of her global streaming data pool.
Wow. So the synthesis of the Hugot emotional connection, mobilizing her core fans, combined with the impulsive purchasing power of the global K-drama audience, makes her a mathematical powerhouse.
She has the raw numbers necessary to disrupt the traditional idol hegemony in these heavily weighted voting categories. It forces a total reevaluation of the industry blueprint.
It really does.
I mean, Gwyn utilized a strategy that functions almost like a Trojan horse. She didn't endure a highly manufactured 7-year idol training system. She didn't participate in a massive reality survival show designed solely to build a predetermined fan group for a specific agency debut.
No, she used the Trojan horse of a flagship Netflix drama soundtrack to completely bypass the traditional gatekeepers.
And landed directly at the summit of the global charts.
It poses the question of whether this is the new blueprint for foreign talent entering the incredibly insulated Korean market.
It has to be considered, right?
You have a Filipina artist utilizing the deeply cultural Filipino emotional framework of Hugot. She's singing a mathematically pristine Korean ballad, providing the emotional core for a drama about a historical Goseon-era Seoul,
Yeah.
and subsequently charting on iTunes in Switzerland. It represents an absolute unfiltered globalization of the medium. The traditional barriers to entry haven't just been lowered, they have been completely obliterated.
It proves that if the vocal talent is genuinely undeniable and the emotional resonance is authentic, the specific delivery mechanism, whether it is a highly coordinated idol group debut or a solitary drama soundtrack, is ultimately secondary.
The global audience, empowered by frictionless streaming platforms, will find it and elevate it.
They always do.
It is just a phenomenal trajectory. I mean, from managing the immense pressure of the Asia's Got Talent stage as a 10-year-old child, to grinding through the brutal vocal gauntlet of Sing, again 4, to secure a record-breaking score and a runner-up finish.
Against incredible odds.
And now, seamlessly transitioning into the undeniable voice of the summer's biggest television event, dominating aggregator charts from the heart of Southeast Asia to Western Europe, through the sheer power of emotion.
It is a story of raw talent breaking the algorithm. But, for you listening, it leaves us with a critical, lingering question to ponder long after this audio stops.
What's that?
Well, with the boundaries between K-pop, K-dramas, and global talent blurring so rapidly, we have to ask, will the next generation of Korean music superstars even need to be Korean? Or has emotion, amplified by global streaming platforms, finally become the only universal language the music industry actually respects?
That is the defining question for the next era of the industry.
And the data Gwyn Dorado is currently generating suggests the answer is already here.
It really does. We want to warmly thank you for joining us on this deep dive today.
Yes, thank you so much. Keep your eyes on the global charts, keep your ears open, and we will catch you on the next one.